if after 10 escapes, the pedophile's still on the street, I bet you me and 2 other dads will just pay that guy a visit and he may disappear someplace. Done.
Now that is how you virtue signal.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I love Todd McFarlane. No, seriously, I revere Todd McFarlane. I look up to the man. He is a great man. Done. Like, he took making things looking cool and breaking rules in comics in order to make things better, despite what everyone told him not to do, and then mixed it with good business sense and decisions and made himself ridiculously successful. He's someone everyone should want to learn from. I really admire the guy. And right now we got big doings going on because he just announced Spawn is coming back. And we're going to have Jamie Foxx, of all people, playing him. This is going to be a huge production. Who knows how it'll go. I don't even know that many people that are demanding a Spawn movie, but maybe if they reinvent it and make it cool enough, like, Spawn will be fresh and new and a whole new generation of people will appreciate him. And that could be really awesome. Spawn was interesting because it wasn't something that I was really into for the story. You just loved the art and the imagery. It was like a mixture of spandex superhero back in the 90s meets, well, hell, essentially. He goes to hell. And that was pretty cool, I guess. Kind of, like, obvious, but, like, they were going for darker, grittier heroes then, and I was buying all that shit. Like, I was buying all of that. You wanted your comic books to have a little bit more grit and intensity to them, and the 90s was bringing that by the mullet load, okay? Like, or in Rob Liefeld's case, by the pouch load. It was insane. It was insane. So this video, I saw it a long time ago and it freaked me out and it stuck with me. Because it showed that even great men these days are not immune to the virtue signal.
One of the things about Spawn that I think is arguably one of the most interesting is that he's an African-American character. In the history of comics, there are not very many African-American characters that have sold, particularly in that period in the early 90s, that were selling on the level that you were selling, say, Spider-Man, or Jim was selling X-Men, right?
Right.
At any point, did that cross your mind as potentially a gamble in and of itself?
No, maybe in hindsight it should have.
All right, that's very important right there. When he made it, he didn't think much of it at all. He just did it. Now, in hindsight, it should have. That's the new way of looking at things. We have to worry about how evil and racist everyone is all the time, which of course is a complete fucking myth made up by people who are working to divide us. That's all that's going on. You don't solve racism by saying it's everywhere and capitalizing off of it in order to get power and redistribute everything. So what are you really saying here, Todd? Are you saying that now, if you were to make Spawn today, you would do it differently because of those racist, bigoted, bloobity blaze? We wouldn't even have the Spawn we know and love, and that you, Todd, you know and love today, if you were looking at it through the current, eyes you seem to have about how evil and racist everyone is.
But it wasn't. And here was the thinking and the rationale to it. Spider-Man's dressed from head to toe. Yet we always talked to him, and we always spoke to him, and we always wrote the stories, assuming he was a white dude. Why?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's because he was a white dude. I mean, come on, Todd. You drew Peter Parker all the time. Hanging out in the apartment with Mary Jane, mask off, being a white dude. Like, everyone who has to draw Spider-Man also has to draw their version of Peter Parker, his haircut, his facial expressions, what have you. Come on, get real. Get real. Fucking Canadians.
He's covered from head to toe. I don't see 1 ounce of flesh. So Spawn was always clothed from head to toe. I just wanted to make him a hero who just happened to be a minority. And could I sell that to white people? White people. White people.
White people.
Okay, now we're getting real warmed up. Just the way he even says white people. Like, it's just the way we talk about white people now. Like, we have to. Why do we have... If he's such a questioner about why do we assume Peter Parker's white, why doesn't he question why we have to talk about white people like we're the fucking bane of planet Earth? You know what I mean? Anyway, He talked about selling to white people as this very difficult thing. But it's so weird that he, of all people, is saying this because he literally created a character that sold really, really well to white people. He did really, really well, and he didn't really think much of it back then. He just did it. He was young. He was a trailblazer. He was just fucking guns out, blazing. But yeah, it's so weird. Spawn is the proof in the pudding, man. He is the creator of the proof in the pudding that people don't care what color your hero is. Okay? But yeah, we're starting to get into like virtue territory, all right? But I promise you, we're not there yet. It's going to get better.
And I had those days where I was at conventions. I'm sitting in Texas, and I got two good old boys in front of me.
Oh, okay. Good old boys. Yeah, is this me, or is that just like a northerner term for like dumb, bucktooth, redneck bigot? Like the nice way of saying it, right? Like, okay, he's already got something weird going on here with this, where he's going with this.
And they're going, Todd, that's Spawn. He's my favorite hero of all time. And I go, you remember that's a black man.
I'll take things that never happened for 500, Alex. Okay, this never happened. This never happened. Todd McFarlane did not go to a convention in Texas. And then some like southern boys, I'm gonna call them men, walked up to fucking Todd and said, I really love your character. He's great. And then Todd looked at them and went, remember, he's black, all right? Like, that did not. There it is, people. The signal is up. He left us this signal. Ta-da! It's eerie, too, because in order to signal like this, he had to tell a story where he completely judged a person on their appearances. He saw a guy, and he walked up and he said, Spawn's my favorite character of all time. Love him. And fucking Todd was like, immediately assumed that guy had a problem with black people and confronted him on it. Literally said he loves the character of Spawn, who's a black guy, and decided that the guy, because Spawn wears his costume more than not, even though there's entire books where Al is Spawn's human name, was walking around, in flesh form, engaging with people for a little bit. It's not right for him to judge people like this. It just kind of bothers me a little bit, to be honest, that you would treat a Southern person this way and just assume that they're this horrible bigot, especially when they're saying they love your comic book character who's black. Yeah, and then the whole then they reacted on the floor in front of everyone in the comic convention. Oh, Lordy Lord, I got caught liking a black man. I can't handle it. Yeah, right. If anything, Todd should have been so happy to see that no matter where he went, people loved Spawn. They didn't care what color he was. Instead, he's all pretending to confront them, and in order to make it seem more real, he's all putting on this fucking, he was freaked out. He went, I got caught liking a black man. Bullshit. It never happened. Okay? He didn't. Tom McFarlane is amazing with his fans, and you expect me to believe that he's sitting there at a convention and some buck-tooth overall wearing guy walks over with a copy of Spawn in one hand and a pig under the other arm, and he's like, oh, Mr. McFarlane, I want to introduce you to my wife and my sister, and he points and there's just one chick fucking standing there, and he's like, boy, after I'm done kissing my cousin, I sure do love to read me some Spawn while I'm churning the moonshine. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. You think you could do an episode where Spawn squeals like a pig for me? Maybe you could put some chicken fried grits in there. I don't know. And then Todd was like, he's black, right? Bullshit! Bullshit, man! Bullshit! That did not happen. That did not happen. That is the virtue signal. Even great men fall for this shit. It is so... When you run in these circles, you're gonna fall for it too a lot of times. I get it. You feel like you're some sort of obligation. You feel like that's how you're a good person. And it's really not how you're a good person. In fact, Todd McFarlane, one of my favorite things I've ever seen him write was in the letters column for Spawn, where he responded to someone who was, I believe it was a black woman, who was accusing him of being racist. And he wrote this amazing response, thoughtful, completely on the mark. about how you should just be a good person because. That's it. That's as simple as being a good person is. Just be good because. And it's not easy to do that, but you do it because that's what makes the world better for all of us, really. And he explained how he wasn't racist at all. He actually makes the point of having, he was actually, because that was one of his more controversial Spawn stories where he was dealing with racism, and he dealt with it really well. It's a cool little parable. It's very reminiscent of something from the Twilight Zone or something where a KKK guy gets put into a black man's body, and of course he gets strung up by his brethren. All that nasty, fun, shit. So, good point there. But then, nowadays, look at him. Look at how he's virtue signaling. Look at this. Like, he's richer now, he's successful now, he's running with people. He still seems like as great a guy as ever. Let's just be honest here. But even he, fell into the virtue pit. Good old boys come up to me and they're like, more I do like, who would do that to their fans, really? Like, your fan, like, hey, I'm here in Texas, I'm a Texas fan, and your character's my favorite character. He's black, right?
And they catch themselves because I took it away so early in the game that they were just like, oh, he's cool. His costume's cool. He does cool stuff. He's kind of heroic. God, yeah, that's right. I forgot.
And now I'm just going to leave you with the dark side of Todd's virtue.
And by the way, if who's Spawn? He's essentially Todd. He's me. It wasn't an accident that he killed the Billy Kincaid, the pedophile. You push me far enough, I'd do the same thing. If Batman can't stop him enough times, if the system can't stop him enough times, if after 10 escapes, the pedophile's still on the street, I bet you me and 2 other dads will just pay that guy a visit and he may disappear someplace. Because if the system can't stop that guy from hurting the children, I will stop him from hurting the children. Done.